The voyage of the Aditi, where all we wanted was to bring an end to death.
Honor my grandparents' legacy.
Undo my parents' failure.
Leave something to be remembered by.
Not become a monster.
To bring peace to mankind.
Greetings! I am Captain Basil, welcoming you aboard the Aditi, a generational spaceship made for a single purpose: to make death die. The Aditi is home to 3 million souls. This ship is equipped to travel for 100 generations or 5,000 years, whichever comes first. Our dance around the sun takes 12 years. During our visits, we trade for fuel on Io, crops on Mars, and genetic material from Earth.
It's an excellent way to meet new people.
Ensign Isabel, from the science class. She's one of the many crew members aboard the Aditi, most of whom are specialists in their field.
There are representatives from every profession on board: psychologists, poets, philosophers, and too many lawyers. And if we're missing anything, we can always recruit from the resurrectionists. And how could any spaceship that's as large as a planet be complete without its own shopping centers? Each floor has its own series of privately owned shops and services.
The inner hull of the Aditi is lined with thousands of nuclear cooling towers. These systems span 600 square kilometers and provide power to a sprawling network that handles navigation, flight, and life support.
Our biogarden is a self-renewing source of food, energy, and oxygen, designed to last 5,000 years before having to return to Earth.
Our navigation systems are smart and fast, guiding the Aditi around any interstellar bodies, like this comet.
That's the Hadron Galactic, and it's going to have a close shave with Earth. At every stop, we pick up new recruits from Earth to Io to Mars, and we use the Radcaster to translate all the new languages.
Which makes the Aditi the perfect place for starting a family.
Well, hopefully we'll be picking up some new recruits soon. I don't want to end up fucking my brother.
Don't be so crass. This video is for future generations, after all.
Don't forget, it's for past generations too, like this poor fellow.
The resurrectionists are complicated. We should head down to Dr. Avicenna's lab to receive the proper debriefing on Project Salvation. The Aditi's mission is far greater than charting the stars. But what better person to explain Project Salvation than the founder?
You mean the prophet?
I am Dr. Avicenna, Chief Science Officer aboard the Aditi. To die, to live again.
So boss, what is the purpose of Project Salvation?
The resurrectionists are dedicated to bringing every man, woman and child who ever lived back to life. To record their histories, discover their secrets and rejoin society. For years, mankind has engaged in their own salvation. We've been collecting leftover DNA from morgues, graveyards, police labs. From Mars to Io, every little bit of every person has been entered into the crucible. Every piece of DNA in the galaxy will be reassimilated in the Lazarus pods. These miracles of science use resources harvested from the Aditi to rebirth those once dead. We bring them back to life, with their memories intact, diseases cured, and in the best physical condition possible. Immortality for all. It is the most important discovery in human history.
I thought that honor went to Captain Basil.
Has she been like this all day?
Yep, and she's been swearing a lot too, Doc.
It was one fucking time, guys.
Such blasphemy. She's lucky she's good at her job. Amongst other things.
We're traveling around the sun, collecting all who ever lived, and populating places like Mars and Io with the resurrected who have a lifetime of experience in their field. The last death will be deaths. Murder is now pointless. Every man, woman, and child will live forever. The Aditi is an everlasting paradise in the heavens. And that's the mission of the Aditi. A task so monumental, it could only succeed in the heavens. The construction of the Aditi alone united the world. All feuds set aside, all religions united, all sciences shared. Africa provided an abundance of resources and materials, including precious metals and diamonds for the ship's hull.
The Americans and Russians collaborated on the rocket systems. Incidentally, their spying on one another birthed the tightest security system ever devised.
China turned out the machine parts and industrial innovations, while Korea and Japan overhauled the navigation and life support systems.
Europe fashioned the bioengineering and lifestyle frameworks and organized the political caste designed to keep the Aditi running at optimal efficiency.
They also created the Radcaster, an AI language tool that helps translate the ever-evolving languages on Mars and Io and embeds our message in the stars.
South America made the sacrifice at Capricorn. Land and people from Argentina to the Cape of Capricorn were dedicated to building the Aditi. And somehow, after all that, we decided to put an Australian in charge.
And the voyage begins. After decades of working together, we're off to kill death.
To live,
to
to
die,
die,
to live
to
again.
live again.
Wait, what is that?
What's wrong, Captain?
I shouldn't let it bother me. Just reports from the Eastern Hemisphere. Looks like we're back to killing one another. I just feel helpless watching from space as we destroy ourselves.
Fuck around, and I'll open the vents on all of you. My name is Coleridge, Captain Division. I am the great-granddaughter of Basil and Isabel. Don't mind my peeper. When the starved animals riot, they'll eat anything, even the captain's eye. I keep the damage on display as a reminder. I'll never engage protesters peacefully again. Now it's policy to vent the oxygen on rioters and feed them to the recycler while they're unconscious. For whoever finds this, we are on the eve of our 100th year and about to leave our Milky Way, adrift and out of control. We've pieced it together from radio intercepts. There was a blast on Earth, a big blast, and it launched us on our ceaseless course. Maybe it was some world power. Maybe it was a Martian superweapon. Maybe it was that comet, the Hadron Galactic. Pieces of old blue got flung at young red. Mars' surface was destroyed. But the Aditi was lucky. The red planet absorbed most of the blast. All our ancestors could do was watch as destruction blew through our galaxy like a tsunami. Been hurling through space ever since. The guidance systems ruined. Thrusters disabled. Can't stop the ship. Can't steer the ship. We'd taken damage and lost control of the Aditi. It was like the old poems about the wind abandoning the sailors and leaving them adrift. I liked those poems. They were saviors. They were the villains. They died, lived, and will live again. According to the court transcripts, my grandparents saved the ship. To do it, they had to vent the lower decks, condemning 500,000 citizens. They made the hard-as-gravity decision to sacrifice 500,000 assholes to save the other 2 million fuckers aboard. Whole families, still down there, frozen. My grandparents turned off the cameras, diverted the power where it was needed, and no one's gone down there since. They put him on trial anyway. I don't know if it was guilt or disgust with their fellow citizens, but the damned saviors of the Aditi chose their own end. We can't stop. But after I learned my grandparents' fate, after what I saw as we tumbled past Io, maybe it's best if we never do.
Die, live, live again. 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 Die.
Don't you think you should get to cover?
Die,
What's that, Dobes? Can't hear you over all this fuckery. I should open the airlocks. That'll show them we're not to be fucked with. But the bitches in blue keep crying about how oxygen and genetic material are supposedly too precious to squander. This lot is the non-caste, descendants of all the bullshit psychiatrists and poets and music makers that crowded the belly of the Aditi. They serve no practical purpose, unlike Rezis, who come with equipped skills of our choosing.
Maybe, if they weren't living on low rations and in radiated quarters, they'd be more pliable.
Don't be a smartass. Your blue idiots are the problem. They keep disobeying protocol and resurrecting everyone, overpopulating the ship with human flotsam. They believe that out of one of those blue chambers they worship, a savior will come. Maybe the blue freaks found Jesus' nail clippings or Buddha's ball sweat, and they think they are going to resurrect one of mankind's lost prophets.
That's a bit of propaganda, Captain. The Science Division believes we will resurrect a hero, some scientist or statesman, who will get us out of this mess.
Bullshit! Those brainiacs just can't solve the real issue. Everything is breaking down. The gardens are in shambles, robbed, or sabotaged. A new level loses electric every day. We're down to acetylene on the lower 20 decks. There's even breaches in the hull, leaking in space radiation. So while the science cult looks for our savior, we're left to deal with the displaced.
Died, lived, lived again. Died, lived, lived again. Died, lived, lived again. Died, lived, lived again. Died, lived, lived again.
This is my third bottle today.
Actually, that's your fourth, Captain.
The rioting makes me think of Io. Everyone asks eventually, so let me tell you. We thought that maybe Io could save us as we passed by.
We coordinated with them for years, developing the interceptor technology that would tow us to safety.
Growing up on Io would have been paradise, reseeding the planet with the resurrection chamber, living planet-side.
Instead, I'm stuck in this doomed dum-dum generator.
As we drew closer, we ran into the first wave of refugees from Io.
We contacted Io, asked them what happened.
Criminals, they said. Debtors, they said. Just rationing.
Okay, terrifying, but what could we do? Then, a few months later, the next wave. All people in blue. All from the Science Division.
It wasn't difficult to guess what happened next. There was no discriminating. Just all a mix of races, colors, blues, reds.
A new voice on the Radcaster told us there had been an uprising. The right people are now in control. I mean, I think we always knew they weren't going to save us. Ever since that first little girl. For the next 6 months, more bodies. But the Radcast was silent. We started picking up some stuff on the shortwave as we got closer, though. Small arms fire. Screams. Sometimes for their mother, sometimes for food. The signal grew weaker and weaker. Then, as we passed Io, it stopped. I think about Io a lot. I think about my grandparents. About the little girl frozen in space. About how I lost my eye. One of the blue pricks asked me the other day if it's so hopeless, why don't I just open the airlocks, flush it all, like they did on Io? I told him. The Aditi's voyage was just beginning. We still had so far to fall.
Today is the Aditi's 500th birthday, and the last day we will be able to communicate with Prime. 200 years ago, the Aditi came into first contact with an alien civilization on the planet Prime. We entered their solar system and have been drifting past them for generations. Today, we bid farewell to Prime. Prime. Physiologically, they are human. Where Earth chose to explore space, Prime chose to perfect humanity through cybernetics. My name is Sol Avicenna. I am the lead science officer for the science faction. I am the last known heir to Dr. Avicenna and his lost disciples. I and the last. The captain's faction has been breeding the science faction out of existence, marrying our women off to their officers and sterilizing our babies. We use the Radcaster to send our SOS to every citizen on Prime, beseeching scientists, entrepreneurs, wealthy captains of industry to send us a ship with enough rocket fuel to slow our fall. Those who almost reached us orbit the Aditi in their floating coffins. They ran out of air and joined their fate with ours. Despite their inability to rescue us, we established an uneasy form of trade. Historians, theologians, scientists. They wanted new subjects to study. In return, our people were spared their loneliness. People formed pen pals from the Aditi to Prime, traded stories, became friends, enemies. There were even marriage proposals. My own wife, the whore, divorced me for some movie star. It was ridiculous. She went all over the ship bragging about her future celebrity life on Prime. I tried to convince the captain to stuff her in a life raft and launch her to her lover. Took issue with the survivability of such an action. Plus, he likes it when blues suffer. Not that it matters. The captain's class is enforcing selective breeding, forbidding procreation among the blues and giving us shit jobs on the irradiated lower decks, and making whores of our wives. But the science faction isn't defenseless. We've sped up our resurrection process and are bolstering our ranks right beneath their noses.
Archibald White, Chancellor to the United Kingdom, broker of the Liturnia Peace Accords, lived and died in the 22nd century. This is you, correct?
Yes. Yes!
When you retired from politics, you founded White Technology, which you managed as head CEO and president until you died in 2161, correct?
What is this? Why am I here?
The Aditi is falling through space. We're running out of resources. Engaged in a civil war. You were a politician and a scientist. Could you solve our problems?
I know nothing about space travel, old chap. Last thing I remember before I died was some terrorists blowing up our moon base.
Okay, no space travel advice. But in your day, you solved conflicts across the globe. What tactic would you propose in our fight against the captain's faction?
Let me see if I understand our situation. Everyone aboard knows the human race is doomed unless they work together. And they can't? I have no solution, old chap.
If you choose not to help, you'll be assigned to a lower level work duty until you can come up with something useful. You have some very distant cousins down there.
Can you bring back my wife? My son?
Sorry, your wife's resurrection is scheduled 200 years from now. Your son got drunk and crashed his hoverloader into a school bus. Crimes like that put him thousands of years down the list. Criminals and stillborns come last.
What's the harm in letting me spend some time with my family?
We don't have time for this. The next Resi is coming out of the tank. The decision is yours. We'll use you as fodder against the captain's faction while you consider our proposition, or we can recycle you now.
You mean you'd kill me?
We break you down and put your DNA back on file. For when we can resume the Salvation Project's original goals.
I just thought of a solution. It's simple, really.
Really? Tell me more.
If this is what we have become, if this is what it takes to survive, then we should run this piece of shit into the sun. Now, if it's all the same to you, I'll show myself to the recycler.
I am going to leave my own legacy.
I don't have much time. The captain's faction caught on to our little insurrection. We're past Prime's communication locus, so I'm putting this through the Radcaster, committing it to the stars so someone may find it one day. Not that it matters. Passing Prime triggered something in the captain's faction. They concocted a final solution, and it was unstoppable. Wish my whore wife had gotten the memo. She's probably survived by banging captains two at a time. First, the Red Fascists used historical propaganda tactics to turn the Resis against us. Blamed us for the rations we were told to ration. Blamed us for the sickness we were curing. Blamed us for the radiation. There's radiation everywhere. And the Resis believed it. They turned on us, our own army. It is worse than the massacre of Corridor 17. Worse than the pogrom of Light. We are being slaughtered. And not just our people, our research, our records, even our DNA. They're feeding us into the engine's reactor and jettisoning our dust into space. Now, they've radiated the whole ship, so we'll all die. Once the majority of the Blues were cornered on the lower levels, the captains opened the vents on Blue and Gray alike. When they restored the atmosphere, we found people frozen together, strangling one another until the end. But the joke's on the captain's faction. You can hear it through the halls, feel it in the radiation.
Die, die, live, die, die, live.
As soon as the Grey cultists learned they were expendable, they went into a frenzy. Took over the resurrection chamber, took the bridge and the reactor core. There's just too many of them to stop. And it's not like they care about dying. They're incinerating our DNA, destroying our archives. Whoever the captain's faction resurrects next will never know we existed. There will be nothing left, no history or testament. Just these recordings, which I will hide here among the relics of past captains. The only good thing that comes out of this is they'll throw my ex-wife into the engines. With any luck, she's already ash, floating in space, no longer dreaming of her boyfriend on Prime.
Live, die again. I am Captain B1. They call me Bone. My parents were A1s. I use this translator. I hope it works, like in the other videos. We have changed so much, and not for the better. I do not look like my ancestors. I do not speak like them. And these headaches, they come with pain and confusion. Before I was born, my mother was the head of the captain sect, and my father the science sect. They hated one another. My mother's mission was to turn the Aditi around, head back to Earth, repopulate the planet using Project Salvation. My father believed the old whispers and tellings, and thought he was going to resurrect the next stage in human evolution. He opened the resurrection chambers and tinkered with each new arrival's genetics in an attempt to create the perfect species to inhabit the Aditi forever. Then my father and his followers committed the decimation. My mother coined that phrase. She was always referencing old Earth lore. They crept along the ship's spine, detonating one out of every 10 reactors, crippling the ship and plunging us towards our fate. In retaliation, my mother purged Project Salvation's programming and destroyed all the resurrection chambers, save one. They both wanted the other one hung, but with genetics limited and both of them integral to the survival of the ship, the tribunal chose a different course of action. Instead of capital punishment, they forced my parents to wed. I watched trial on the Radcaster. My mother kept calling my father Cortez. That was not his name. He was a one. I looked up this man, this Cortez, who out of fear of mutiny burned his boats and trapped his people across a great abyss, just like us. Not enough is said about Cortez's victims, a people who survive by communing with their environment. And our environment is dying. Like the natives, we will use all that is at our disposal. Need to shore up the hull, create supports in aging craft, stuff in some resis. We are now truly one with our ship. Clothing and nutrition are prepared where we once grew food. What dies, what spews from the tanks half-formed, comes here. No more recycling. Even teeth, perfect insulation, or put back in the heads of those who lost their own. My parents' legacy. Funny, never knew them. My father had the surgeon slip some uranium into my mother during my birth. She died a week after I was born. But my mother, she was a planner. She'd been slipping cobalt into his food the whole time she was pregnant. He died a week after her. They hated one another so much. Must have hated me too. You'd have to hate someone a lot to hand them the captaincy of this mad voyage. Some legacy. I asked an old Resi the other day, what will the Savior do when he arrives? It told me the Savior would take all the Resis away from this place. When I asked what about me, what about the rest of us, the thing looked at me and said, you stay. This is your hell, not ours. I am going to leave my own legacy. All this knowledge, my parents, the past, it must be worth something. Both my parents wanted to end the voyage quickly for the good of humanity. They had their methods. Am I obligated to the future? Or should I mess it up like all those who came before me? I'm reprogramming the Resi chambers, dialing in amino acids, reducing radiation-prone organ dependency, eliminating left-right brain hemisphere coordination. Only the essentials, so the Resis will last as long as they can. Turn all the drives way up, reverse direction, slow the Aditi way down. The reactors will burn out. That will be it for nuclear power. How to power the ship now? We'll find another way. No one likes my plan. Not Resis, not Captain Sect, not Science Sect. They either want this to end or believe it cannot get worse. Finally, they are united against something. I will hold out here for as long as I can, broadcasting my final moments. I wonder, will history name me conqueror or conquered?
Born with no tear ducts, they laugh that I cannot cry. I was brought back by demons, prodding and poking, torturing. I lived in America. Thousands of years ago, I have forgotten my then name. They now call me prophet. We could not speak. We could not think. We could only be pain. At first, I called out to God. I did not know why I was being punished, and learned that I could speak. Among other things, I teach line language. Her first word is line. That is where she works. She takes this as her name. Good to be in center. Resis grow sad, distracted, let themselves get close to front. Stay too long, they crumble, disappear. Line and I grow close. Do not have necessary parts, but still loved her. Line is from time where they made this hell. Hundreds of years ago, her family starved to death, working on the Aditi. We sleep together during night, even though night and day have no meaning. The demons took notice. Line and I were treated special, like pets, brought us into their temples, where no one ever went. We were scared, but there was no more standing in line, so also happy. Then I read the words, Project Salvation, and everything changed. In this life, You cannot wish, but if I could, I would wish lying far away from this place, somewhere she could never be hurt, even if it meant I'd never see her again. Longed for my time, for America, before spaceships and computers and cancers and radiations, before I learned where we came from, not out of air or from one another, but from grotesque chamber of horrors. When they brought us into that chamber, I was able to learn while they slept. I accessed machines, learned our history, our sciences, our religions. I shared with life. She begged me not to share with others, but knowledge is too great, the truth too important. I thought that way then. Time is funny. If I could change things now, I would. The demons, not stupid. Not so far gone, they still do not value control. They hear me teach in the gardens. Others starting to speak. Afraid, they intimidate, terrorize. Numbers, counting. I teach my people to count time, to avoid sitting up front too long and getting burnt up by the line. That is the final straw. They tie line to the front. They make me watch as she shrinks, cracks, and goes away. They laugh at line's death. Born with no tear ducts, they laugh that I cannot cry. They let me run. Sulk. Deep into the ship where others never go. Radiation and boogeymen kept us out. That's where I find recordings that will set us free. Counting. That was their undoing. Like many civilizations before, their arrogance led to their downfall. I discovered their bluff. I counted how many bullets they had left in those guns, and I did not have to count very high. I played the old videos over the dying communication systems. I tell my people the demons had lost their magic. What I had learned from their histories, I gave back to them. But the last of them laughed, cursed us, said we had brought our own doom. Now, no power to the resurrection chambers. Fat we were using for fuel, almost gone. The air is thinner than ever. The water machines, poison, the very flesh and bones holding the Aditi together rot from death and cancer. My followers do not call me prophet anymore. They do not speak at all. Wounded in the fighting, will not make it much longer. So silent. The Aditi has fallen so silent. Not all hope is lost. There must be a reason I was given speech. If I could just resurrect the Savior, if I could just hold on a little longer. Die, live again.
Forgive me. My last words are written with my own blood on this metal wall. It seems sacrilegious that these are the last words of the human race, made by me, a speck in the cosmos, doomed to be a martyr to none. But it is my fate to write the last chapter. When I burst forth, I fell into a pile of bones, many already eroded away to dust. The air was hard to breathe. I ran around in the dark, naked and screaming and calling for help on this forsaken ship. In the darkness, I found the one blinking light in the entire ship. It led me to this fantastic machine that created images from ebb. I sat for days, listening to the captains come and go, bearing witness the downfall of humanity. Without food or comfort, naked on the cold metal chair, watching mankind disintegrate. Only a stack of bones outside the dead resurrection chamber tells me how much time has passed since Prophet's army rebelled. I do not know if I could have stopped the ship's entropy. I do not know if my proclamation would have made a difference. What I do know is I came with a message, and I've arrived too late. A simple reminder of truths we've all forgotten. Be kind to one another. Forgive transgressions. Do not judge. Do not pursue power, revenge, hatred. Do not take what is not yours, whether it be money or love. Do not pervert justice to satisfy your own means. We are on this voyage together, but have fallen so far off the path that I fear this will be all our end. Cold, dark, alone, and plunging into the sun.
Are you dying in the street? No grave and no loved ones to look after your mortal remains? Are you so in debt you'll still be working even after you're dead? Fear not, citizen, the body removers have you covered. We'll clean you up after you've paid the final fine. Our services are free and on call. Foreigners need not apply.